Hello, uh, just walking through how this works. Let's start from the top. I'm using Blender 4.4.3. This is the flag. They have these tabs at the top in this version. I am set right now currently to animation. Mine might look different than yours. I don't recall. I'm pretty sure I probably customized this window a little bit. Um, on the left side, I have my dope sheet, and I have my dope sheet set to not my dope sheet, but set to Action Editor, because this way I can create and choose which cycle I'm working on. I usually have a default cycle. Here, let me select my bones, and I usually have, and then I have my other animation. So this is uh, then I usually name them something that makes sense. In this case, the default is default, and this one is noise flap. So yeah, let's go back to the default, and I'll just go back to normal here. So and then on the other side here, I have, if you click on this thing, you open up the graph editor. That will show you the function curves of those and of those animation keyframes if you have them. So you'll see here on the right side there's my armature. All my bones and stuff are in here, and attached to that is the geometry. It exists inside the armature. So how do we modify this animation? So why don't we first select the rig, and right now we're in object mode, so why don't we switch over to pose mode. So now this is where we are actually doing something with the bones. If you, I don't think you need to select them all, but I'm just going to switch over from default to noise flap just so that we can actually see something. So now if I select them all, you'll see in this with this flag there's only two keyframes for each bone, on frame 1 and on frame 100. They sort of act just as brackets to this chaos that you see over here. So why don't we take a look at what's going on. So each bone, I just kind of hit, I just keyframed, everything, so it'll be location, rotations, and scales. And what do we got? So you'll see that most of the bones actually don't have anything happening to them, and some do. So what's going on? So first let me actually show you a couple of hotkeys. If you have the bone, okay, well, actually let's just do this. If you have the bone, like the channel, the X channel here, selected, it's kind of highlighted but not necessarily selected. If you now you'll see, I'll zoom in on that a little bit. If I double click it, now I've actually selected those keyframes, so now I can move them up or down if I need to. And to do that, sorry, I just hit GY for grab in the Y axis. If I wanted to move it sideways, I could do G for grab and X, and I could move it left or right. If I don't want to look at all this stuff, I can hit Shift H to hide everything but the property I have selected here. So in this case, I just have the X shown, and you might be wondering, okay, where's that modifier exist? So probably typically by default you're looking at this, the F curves. There should, hopefully, I'm pretty sure this is just by default. You have the modifier tab here on the right, and then the cursor, which don't really need to worry about right now. This is the modifier. Oh, let me select that curve again. Come on, where'd it go? Anyway, let's just select it there. So the modifier tab is selected. This is my modifier. It's my noise modifier. In here I can add other modifiers. Yeah, and so you'll see if you're monkeying around with this, scale will add more of the it's a noise, so it's not really a clean sine wave, but if you know, it's kind of just noise. So the smaller it is, the more fuzzier it'll be, but I just wanted kind of a random sort of sine wave, so it's kind of a sine wave, but it's a little bit sloppy. um, and that's kind of what I wanted. So that will make your, if the smaller that is, the faster the speed will be. If I want to increase the intensity, like the sort of how big each one is, I can scale up strength. If I make it even, if I make it smaller, you'll see the strength, like this, how big that wave will be is going to be a lot smaller. Um, and if you want to take a look at these, there's offset. I can like shift where that is in where that wave happens in time. What's phase do? Phase is just, I don't know, goes through probably like just different types of noise and chaos in there. And what does depth do? Well, probably, yeah, depth just adds like micro frequencies to those sine waves. So I don't know. If you want it, that's what it's there for. One other thing I did is because this is essentially, well, here, let's turn this off. If I turn this off, you'll see the sine wave kind of just carries on infinitely, sort of through time. But because this is for something that I need to have a cycle of, I need to some way to kind of control where that cycle happens. And because this is such a random kind of thing, the way to do that is to do this: restrict frame range. So what that will do is it will lock this chaos, this noise thing, between the two keyframes. So in my case, and then you have to state what your keyframes are. In my case, it's frame 1 to frame 100. And then your choices is how much of a blend do you want between, like, you know, at each keyframe. I made mine about a 15 frame blend, so it sort of tries to smooth, what it does is tries to smoothen it out about within 15 frames of that keyframe. I had it a little bit bigger before, and what I noticed was that it just, when you watch the cycle happen, it kind of just looked like it was almost stopping, like slowing down at that point. So I just kind of chiseled it down, and if it still feels too much, you can even go less. Like you can probably knock that down to 10. And what else? So now back to sort of, I showed you Shift H to sort of isolate. What happens if I do Shift H on something that's hidden? Oh yeah, okay. So if I select another, like say, because this one has the gear icon, which means that it has a modifier attached to it. It will pretty much isolate. It will display only that. Now say I want to go to there, I go Shift H and hit home, or yeah, and it will zero in on that keyframe. And then I'm doing essentially the same hotkeys you're using for scaling in and out in the viewport. You can use that here. I have mine set a little bit differently, so I'm not even going to tell you what it is because it's going to confuse you. So yeah, so then essentially that's it. So in this case, let's just turn that on. I think I made these two essentially the same. Let's go. Yeah, they look pretty much identical. So what I ended up doing for each bone, because it can, yeah, I mean, there's probably more efficient ways of doing this, but I didn't have time to figure it out. So what I did is, there's this, you have the ability here to pretty much just copy. You can copy this setup right here, And if I go to the next one, I can say, okay, I want to apply the same thing to this bone's X. This is essentially what I did. I hit this button, which will paste it to this one that I have selected. Now what you'll see is, I guess it's showing still this bone, or no. Okay, no, it's not. So what I did, what you'll see, okay, so if I copied this one, it's 20, like say 20, just, I might have just changed the offset a little bit. Let's see. Yeah. So essentially I left the scale pretty much the same, I think. I increased the strength as the bones went on, because I imagine the way a flag would work is that there'd be a lot more motion at the far end of the flag than the part closest to the post, right? So I just pasted it, I increased the strength a tiny bit, and then I offset it a little bit, because that's another thing you want. You don't want each bone to just be rotating the same. It kind of has to do a bit of a whip motion. So essentially all you're doing is taking that same motion from the previous bone, moving it over, and then just shifting it a little bit in time. So then that way this bone, essentially this bone is moving first, this bone is following, and then this bone is following even more. So essentially you can see this bone, the values are increased even more. The strength, the scale is the same, the strength is more, and then I offset it a little bit farther. And that's pretty much the same for all the bones. This one's a little bit extra special because it's pulled away from the post. So I added a little extra something something to it. I added some noise to the position in X and Y. So then that way, here you'll see, let's move the timeline. So that you can see that bone moves a little bit back and forth and in and out. So so yeah, it's so see there, it's kind of going back and forth, and it's also going like left and right, left or in, like this way, in and out in the x-axis. So yeah, that's kind of pretty much it. Here, why don't we just we'll try to do it on this bone. I'll crank this guy up a little bit more. Why don't we go to town a little bit? 0.5 and 0.5, I don't know. And let's crank this guy a little bit up. Let's go 0.75 and 1. And let's see, it's probably gonna be a lot crazier than. So yeah, you see, like now he's kind of a little bit out of, a little bit too more insane than these other guys. So what I might do then in that case is, you know, go through and just increase the rotations on, or the scale on these guys. No, the strength, sorry. To just kind of more match whatever this guy is doing. So yeah, that's kind of pretty much it. Oh, one other thing. So yeah, because I showed you a couple of hotkeys. Shift H to isolate the curve you want to look at. Alt H unhides everything. So yeah, you might want to just remember to do that at the end, in case you start wanting to, like, say, you know, you want to move things or whatever. If it's hidden, it's not gonna join everyone for the ride. So it's kind of helpful to just or it's a good habit to just remember to turn everything back on. So if you've hidden everything, don't assume just because you hit A for all and you moved it in Y that everyone is moving at the same time. You're gonna have to hit Alt H and then hit A for all, and then move everything. But you'll see in this case it's exploding. So yeah, I hope that helps. Hope that helps you locate where the modifier. You have to be in pose mode, you have to have your bone selected, and you have to have your curve selected to see the modifier tab there. Anyways, hope this was useful. Take care. Bye.